Bush.
Oi, oi. Wow, what a turnout. Some of the finest faces. Come on. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. Completely overwhelmed by the turnout, both me and Amy. Really means a lot to us that everyone's made the effort. Really hope everyone's going to enjoy the evening. Sure you will. I want to see everyone, and I mean everyone, on the dance floor later. If you're not on the dance floor, you have me to deal with, or a drunk Amy, which is probably even worse. I'm going to keep it short. So the moment you have all been waiting for, I'm going to pass you over. Grandparents, cover your ears. My partner in crime for the last 20 years, Mr. Stephen Talbot.
Fucking hell, I didn't expect that. This is actually the second time in about 9 months that I've had the honour and the responsibility of this role. I can certainly say it doesn't get any less nerve-wracking, with this obviously being the most difficult part of the day. The groom on the previous occasion is actually here today, Andy Budd. And of those of you who know him would probably agree, he's quite a laid-back guy. One who doesn't sort of tend to let himself down too much. So writing that speech and trying to think of like times, embarrassing moments was a real challenge. And actually took me a couple of months to sort of put it together. I can honestly say, like, on this occasion, I faced no such problems. David Bush. David, or Dave, to his nearest and dearest, but to his mates, well, we've got a whole host of names for him. Disaster Dave, probably most that due to his unbelievable clumsiness. Dull Dave, due to the fact that he likes to be tucked up in bed by 9 o'clock. Stilts, because of his unbelievably long legs. Roll Dull, Chris and it's due to his love of telling stories. Stories that are always better than your own. The ones that you never actually get the chance to finish, due to him excitedly interrupting you to begin his own tale. Gareth Gates, because when he tells these stories, he often gets so animated and overexcited that he can mix up his words. And most recently, Bubby Bush. In reference to a Facebook post to Amy that I'm sure he'd rather forget, but unfortunately for him we'll never be allowed to. Right, I just want to take this opportunity now to say what a fantastic day it's been so far. The venue is absolutely superb, better than what I thought it was going to be actually. Everyone's scrubbed up well, and I'm sure we're in for a great night, so now everyone's arrived, and it's been a privilege to be so heavily involved. May the rest of the evening continue in the same vein as the day has begun. So now, for those of you who sort of don't know me, I've been best friends with Dave for a long, long time. Thinking back to when we were sort of 10, 11 years old, like a couple of Herberts on a Vintners Park estate, causing havoc on our bikes, playing football for hours on end after school. Sort of when we started to get the train to London to go and watch West Ham play, and then started going out drinking in Maidstone. Been on countless holidays and weekends away together, the most recent being a great weekend in Berlin for his stag do. And all of these periods of time, or occasions, obviously produced many stories, as you can imagine. Mostly good stories, some bad, a few downright ugly. We're not going to go there, but all obviously very entertaining. But due to this, obviously I have a list as long as my arm of sort of embarrassing moments, misdemeanours and absolute clangers this man has dropped that I could share with you, but obviously my time's quite limited this evening. Now, Bushy has always been the self-proclaimed best goalkeeper in Kent. which which is a big bold shout, and I do admire his confidence. However, unfortunately for him, his words were never really backed up by his abilities. Granted, he was capable of a top save, but this would often be balanced out by an absolute howler, with the ball slipping through his fingers, squirming under his body or trickling through his legs. I'm pleased to say he's recently announced his retirement from the game and hung up his gloves. Now concentrating on his new life, which is golf. And again, never one to be shy. He told me he's not bad. But obviously, sort of taking previous claims into account, I was quite sceptical. But obviously the boys he's played with have told me that he is of a decent standard and he's always improving. But getting to a decent level has obviously taken a lot of practice, and in typical Bushy style there's been a few hiccups along the way. The most notable being an early round when he was still learning the ropes and etiquette of the game. A tee shot was well and truly sliced and was heading towards the next fairway on the previous hole. The shout of 4 obviously did not go up quick enough from Dave, and some poor guy, minding his own business, playing his own round, ended up getting Dave's tee shot square on the forehead, getting knocked out cold, and ended up being taken into A&E in an ambulance. Only him, I thought.
You didn't hear me, I shouted.
Nearly on a manslaughter charge, yeah?
Oh, golf insurance and it's done.
Now, as I said earlier, Bush is a really clumsy fella. A trait that I know he's inherited from his father. He knows he's like this. He's always like knocking into things, knocking things over, tripping over things. It's all very amusing when it is just things, but it's when it starts affecting unsuspecting members of the general public it starts to become a bit more of a cause for concern. My main example of this is still to this day. Happened about 10 years ago. It was his 18th birthday, and we went to a pub crawl around the town. We ended up in a pub called the Vic in Maidstone, which was a bit of a dive, if I'm honest. The clientele was questionable, and it had a reputation for being a bit rough, but it was on our route, so we had to take it in. A quick drinking out was the plan, and we managed to get on a pool table in a separate room from the regulars, about 8 of us in total. And after a couple of games and finishing our drinks, it was time to go. But to get out of the main door, we had to go out via the main bar. I was the last one out with Dave just in front of me as we headed out in a line, and I could see the rest of the boys sort of taking a bit of a detour to get to the main door, as if something was sort of blocking their way. Now, as I was getting closer, I could see this was due to an older lady sitting on one of the seats, and it was because she had a whole leg in a plaster cast. From her thigh down to her ankle, and she was resting it horizontally on a stool. This is obviously why everyone else was sort of sidestepping slightly when leaving. Unfortunately for her, Bush must have been daydreaming a little bit at this point, and was the only one of us not to notice the big, bright, white, broken leg in his way. Standing behind him, I've seen him attempt to walk straight through the leg, crashing into it and knocking it off the stool. The old girl screamed in agony. She was obviously in major discomfort. We probably should have stopped and shown some cause for concern for her well-being, but boys being boys, getting out the door as quickly as we could unscathed was our main aim. And I'm glad to say we managed this and we laughed all the way to the next pub. That's not the only time that his clumsiness has nearly got us into bother, but definitely the most memorable for me. Now, as I touched on earlier, on some occasions he can get his words and letters mixed up a little bit. An example of this, just a very brief example, is one night he was trying to explain an episode of EastEnders to me, and he got so excited he referred to Pat and Frank Butcher as Frat and Pank. But my favourite example of this was when we were about 11, 12 years old. We just started senior school, and we were out playing on our bikes one evening, and he excitedly told me he got a new girlfriend. So I said, "That's really good, mate." I said, "What's her name?" He said, Venicity. I said, Venicity. I said, that's a new one. You sure it's not Felicity? He said, no, definitely Venicity. So, a few weeks gone by, again, after school, he tells me that their budding romance was no more. A couple of weeks and that was it. But what he had found out since the split was that her name was actually Felicity. And that he'd been calling her by the wrong name the whole time they were going out. That's probably why she dumped him, I don't know. Right. Again, only Dave. Right, on a serious note now, Amy, just wanted to take a bit of time now to say you look stunning today, as you always do. In all honesty, I've really liked you since the first time I met you. I know you're good company, you're really easy to get on with, and you say what you think, which I really admire in person.
Tell me about it.
I've also got a lot of respect for you for moving away from your home to come down to Maidstone to be with my good friend. And I believe, or I hope anyway, I think you're the voice of the reason in the relationship, which I think is crucial. Dave and me have always confided and been honest with each other, and I can honestly say he's as happy and as settled as he's ever been, and there's no doubt in my mind that you are the reason for that. And I'm really pleased that you found each other on that boat in Thailand, and I know that you're going to have a great life together. Stilts. Bushy, I think I've let you off lightly today, but I think some stories are best left untold. I'll be forever grateful for you giving me this opportunity today. It's been great to be so involved in your big day, and I've loved every minute of it. So, thank you. Right. And thank you to everyone for listening to me this evening. I'd just like to finish by asking you all to raise your glass of champagne in your hand and raise your glass of matatoes to Bush and Amy.